The Mike Weatherford Show is proud to announce we are now officially powered by TEC. If their fiber optic internet service can handle everything we throw at it here in the studio, from videos to calls and live streams, you better believe they can handle your home or business too. If speed, stability, and service is important to you, you can count on TEC. Thanks, TEC. Now let's get to the show.
Recorded live in the studios of Brewer Street Mafia. This is a Red Dog Fred production.
And now, your number one rated show, The Mike Weatherford Show. Here's your host, Mike Weatherford.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am not Mike Weatherford. I am Dr. Ken Berry. I drove up from the woods of Benton County to host this special conversation with two of our state representatives who both represent Henry County and other surrounding counties. I have with me Representative Tandy Darby on my right. And Tandy, you represent Weakley County. We're going to throw a graphic up, I think, on the screen. You represent Weakley County, and then in Carroll County, you represent McKenzie, a little bit of Huntington, Trezevant, Brewston, and then in Henry County, the McKenzie area and some of eastern Paris.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Correct. And then on my left, we have Representative Jay Reedy. You represent all of Benton County, all of Houston County, all of Humphreys, all of Stewart. And then in Henry County, you represent a part of Paris, Puryear, Buchanan, Springville, and Paris Landing.
And it was interesting when they were dividing that up, they were trying to figure out, we need 10,000 more people for House District 74. So when people look at Henry County and the map, they see that little pie wedge shape, and it was like 2/3 of the city of Paris, and it's like, okay, I got the 10,000 people now. But I actually have that map on my wall in my office, so when constituents stop by, that's like, they're not sure if they're in my district or Tandy Darby's district, so it's a little confusing.
Well, I certainly appreciate the opportunity to discuss some important issues that are important to families and communities in all of these counties, and I appreciate both of you gentlemen for being with me this evening. This show this evening is sponsored by Henry County Farm Bureau and my friend Josh Simmons. Whether you need auto insurance, home insurance, life insurance, my buddy Josh will fix you up. Go see Josh. Now, before we get into specific issues, and you guys watch this, I've got some gotcha questions for these guys. So I wanted to talk first about what is it that a state representative does, because a lot of people get confused about who do I talk to about this? My mayor, my county commissioner, my school board? Who handles this? And so, first of all, let's talk a little bit about what does a state representative do?
You want me to lead into
this,
Tandy?
Go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
Well, I'm prior service. I was in the military. I was in the Army. Fort Campbell brought me here. But I always refer to that as a chain of command, because it's a lot of time people – one time, a parent called, their child was in trouble in Humphreys County, in McEwen, and says, you need to resolve this. And I said, have you talked to the principal? Have you talked to your school board member? Have you talked to the director of schools? Well, no. And then it was a few hours he called back. He said, oh, I talked to the principal and it was just a misunderstanding. And I don't know what the situation is, but it's a lot of times there is that chain of command that we as citizens, it's even me, if I've got a problem, I've got a county commissioner, if it's something to do with the roads in Houston County. I live in Houston County. But if there's situations or my child's in school, I need to talk to the school board. I mean, because J. Reedy, even though I'm a state rep, I can't fix that. I mean, I got to go to who's closest to the people. And certainly this evening we could talk about private acts whenever you want to get into that, because private acts are very important for the cities and counties. And part of our job is when a city or county wants to do a private act, they got to get the permission of the state of Tennessee. So there is actual legislation that is drawn up to make that happen. So it's a lot of times whenever there's a need between a county and the state, we get involved. That's our job. That's what we're supposed to do. But a lot of times, if it's a county issue, now I represent 5 counties. Do I need to be involved in all the county issues and going to every county commission meeting and all of that? And I was told early on, Jay, don't go to a school board member meeting or visit a school board when they've got a meeting going on, or a county commission or a city council meeting, unless you're invited. And I've been invited a few times, and it's interesting that when you get an elected official, in other words, let's use the governor. When the governor walks in the room, well, everybody wants to talk to the governor. They lose all train of thought because there's issues. We do the same thing if we're uninvited, and it's like, okay, it was later in my military career I become an officer, and so it's usually when you had your non-commissioned officers, your soldiers in a meeting or in a platoon, the first sergeant would look up and it was, Lieutenant Reedy, do you need to tell us anything? Have a good day, sir. In other words, get out of our business. It's time for us to take care of the troops.
Tandy, how would you describe what a state rep does?
Yeah. Doc, first off, thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
And what an honor, to come over here and get to talk things through, and, with no political background. The way that I got into this thing, I looked at it, if I get in this, I'm going to have 70,000 bosses. And that's the way that I still look at it. And it's just like running a business. It's just like doing anything. Hey, you got to answer to somebody. I've got 70,000 people that I got to answer to. So it's one of those things that, hey, the hard work is there. You're always trying to put your best foot forward and listen. And that's one of the things that I've tried to do. I feel like I hope that folks think that I've done a good job at that. And I don't always have my mind made up. And my morals are not going to change. I don't think I can blur them any. But when you got issues there that's affecting people in your area, hey, you got to listen. And that's one of the things there. I've had some real good conversations, to say the least, about, and has it ever changed my mind? Of course. Yeah. You hear things from a different perspective, and just exactly like what we represent. And that should be first and foremost on how we view things. It ain't always our way. I wish I had the ability that, hey, I could do what I wanted to every time, but it's not that way.
Right.
And like I said, morals, I don't think I can budge on my morals, my upbringing, things there that I value. But when you got every questions that come up that you got to try to find an answer to it. Hey, my circle is small, but I try to pride myself in people there that put on the boots. I value their opinion. And that's the kind of way I've approached this.
I got a quick question for you, Tandy, because you're more of a freshman than I am, because you're probably going to give me the same response. So when you get into an issue and it's like, I can vote either way, how do you look at that? How do you finally decide?
Jay, that's a great question. There's lots of things that have come up. And I know the way that my heart feels. Hey, this is what I'm going to do. And then you hear the other side, and you think, well, I may not be right. And then you just got to let your conscience be your guide. And hey,
because a lot of times it's when we hit the House floor, then we finally hear the debate between the two, and by that time it's in the legislative process. We don't sit on every committee, so it's sometimes that's where we're really getting steeped into the conversation, is on the House floor. And then all of a sudden, and that's where you walk into the House floor, you'll tell somebody, it's like, man, I could vote either way on this. I need more information.
Yeah, and that the committee process, that what we go through, a lot of times those bills, you don't hear them to the House floor.
Right.
So my very first year, the speaker came to me and said, hey, I'm fixing to put you on calendar and rules. And calendar and rules is just for folks that are that chair a committee or a subcommittee. And when he was reading their names out, like I said, hey, Doc, I'm still wet behind the ears, don't know really where the bathroom is. He called my name out to be on calendar and rules. Well, I had a couple of people come up to me and say, hey, Darby, I don't think that's right. You're not a chairman or anything. My first year, I don't think that you're on calendar and rules. And I yeah, I'll go check with him. And he had already told me, hey, because he says, I want you to see every bill. So Wednesday night is about like when I was back in, I'm not going to say college, in high school, where I was studying. Every Wednesday night, because we had calendar and rules on Thursday morning, I got a chance. And it made a difference in the way that I view things. If I've got bills that I look at them before we go to the House floor, and I know if I've got questions, I'm calling somebody on that committee. Hey, how does this need to go?
Well, it helps form the questions that you need to ask.
Yes.
Now, Jay, you hinted at this a minute ago. The average citizen very often doesn't know who they need to talk to about a particular issue.
That's right.
So my question is, and I've written Substacks about this and Facebook posts, do you think that we need to do something about the level of civics education in Tennessee? I know you've got a lovely wife who's a school teacher, and I'm fond. I have several family members who teach school, but I find that on average, people have no idea. Is this a school board issue? Is this a county commission? Is this a mayor? Is this a state rep? Do we need more civics education in Tennessee?
Here's what I know, and here's what I think. It's amazing. We're in an election year, right? All hands on deck. Everybody's watching what's going on. What's sad is after the election, what does everybody do? It's like they kind of stroll off, take a nap, and it's not until the next election. Here's where it's important for Tandy and I both. It's our legislative assistants. Being there, they're there year-round. We are not full-time. We're just mostly there during session now. However, I'm on GovOps, so we meet every month, so I'm there for a couple of days every month. But Jennifer Beckwith is my assistant. So if you call or stop by the office, I'm not there. She's gathering that information, and it's a lot of times that's who's, the rubber's meeting the road by our assistants, because all of a sudden they know it's a health issue. Okay, call our liaison with the Department of Health. Sometimes in the past it was Veterans Affairs. Now, when I got there, we finally changed the name Veterans Affairs to Veterans Services, because when you think of Veterans Affairs, that's Washington, D.C. So we have our contacts with our congressional folks and saying, okay, you're calling and your Veterans Affairs needs to handle this because it's at the federal level, and it's not to deal with the federal services or the veterans services in the state of Tennessee. So a lot of times we're splicing hairs, but after you're there for a while, or our assistants, they talk to other assistants and say, I got a person, it's an issue with health care, unemployment, and for the longest time, oh my gosh, unemployment leading up to that, our folks need to know who to contact.
So civics education, do we need more of it, or do we get enough in Tennessee high schools?
Right now, I think we're getting enough of civics, but we need to go beyond that. But it's educating the general public like we're doing tonight. It's getting information out there on who to contact and what do we need to do. I'm on the education committee as well, and when we talk about civics, there's so many civic classes out there and topics that we cover. And what's sad is, and you were talking about teachers, educators, we have overloaded our teachers in the classroom, that we got more instructional time that they need to present than they've got time in a day to do. So what is most important, reading, writing, math, or is it civics? And we try to, the 9/11 folks, and it's teaching the Constitution. Not 9/11, 9/17 society. Yeah. And they do a good job in that period. And so here we are, we're trying to get people interested. But as a medical doctor, the question I have for you, many times that somebody comes in and they think that they got a problem and you tell them how to fix it, do they all listen to you? And then
not always.
See?
Not always. Tandy, what do you think?
So we're challenged.
More civics education, or do we get enough?
I think we definitely do. And it's not just really civics.
Do need more or do get enough?
No, I think we need more.
Okay, go ahead.
But you got to make it interesting. I've handed out the constitutions, I'm sure, just like Jay has. But you got to be able to relate to the kids. You got to find a fun way to how to present the facts and get them interested in the accountability of learning about. Because, hey, I mean, that's where the next leaders are going to come from. And, you said it, when you say civics, you talk about high school. Why can't we coast them in there a little bit earlier? And I guess I should know, but I remember in 7th grade we had Tennessee history. Yeah. Is that still part of the curriculum?
So I think you have to have one complete unit or one credit of the combination of history and civics, and usually that's taken up by history I totally agree with you. I think that we ought to start in junior high, at least, if not even elementary school, with kind of the basics, because I really think that the reason people don't know, I think the reason that person called you about that issue is because they had not been taught, no, this is a principal issue, this is a school board issue, this is a county commission issue, whoever. I just think people don't know. And I think that, when you see people rioting on the streets, think about this. And this is just my opinion. You see people riding on the streets. Do you think that was their first, we have no other option, we'll just do this? Or do you, a lot of people would say they were paid to do that, whatever. But if they knew, no, first thing I need to do is go talk to my city councilman about this, or my county commissioner, or I need to send a letter to Tandy Darby about this and see if he can bring it up on the House floor. Do you think we would have this much social unrest if people knew this is how the government actually works at all levels? Not just, hey, here's the Constitution, there's 3 branches of government in the federal government. Yeah, you need to know that, but don't we need to know state level civics as well?
It is, but the challenge is getting people to do that. And I'm sad to report that Tennessee in election turnout is the lowest out of the 50 states. And it's like, okay, if you can't, for 10 years, here I am, it was with MailChimp, getting information out. Here's what's going on, trying to engage people and saying, and then when it comes election time, 10% of the registered voters shows up, and it's like, okay, that's not working. What do we do next? Mm-hmm. And it becomes a challenge, but it's not until a person, as a medical doctor, it's not until a person has a problem do they show up or start asking questions. And then I get it. Sometimes it's because they're personal friends. Well, you're a state rep. Hey, but great. I know that if you don't have the answer, you will help me get the answer and point me in the direction I need to go. And it's all part of it. But I wish that the state of Tennessee, its citizens would stay more engaged, as you're seeing, is like, okay, how do we change the hearts and minds of some of these folks about the issues of the day? And Tennessee is the most fiscal state in the union, so we're doing a lot of things right, but still, I wish, golly, it's like, folks, get out to vote. Get out to vote. It's a civic duty, because your votes matter.
Yes, absolutely.
In the end of the day,
we've got some questions coming in on Facebook. Is it you guys mind if we take a few questions from your voters? Is that okay? Okay. Dylan has a question. And first, let me tell everybody watching. Tell me in the comments what county you're watching from, because I want to know, do we have mainly Jay Reedy fans or mainly Tandy Darby fans? Where are you watching from right now? Tell me the county in the comments. Dylan has got a question. He said, what advice can you give a young person that wants to potentially run for office, local office one day? What advice?
Go. I had 40 kids from 40 young adults, Doc, for the Ag Governor School. I fed them the other night, had them out the farm. And that was the one thing that I did, with no political background whatsoever. I can work 4 or 5 phones a day. I think I could have a conversation sitting with President Trump right over here. But if you put me behind a microphone and a podium, I get a little queasy.
Right.
So that's what I tell the kids. Hey, have the walk with the Lord.
Amen.
And take every speech class that you can. And that right there, you can't go wrong. Even if politics is not your answer, if that's not something that you want to, because just like a lot of people tell you, what's your worst fear? Getting up and speaking 100%. In front of somebody.
All you youngins, listen up. This is good advice. Yes. I can remember I dropped my speech class in college twice. Well, I was doing great up until the day before I was supposed to give my first speech. Couldn't do it, dropped out. And finally, I did it. And a lot, if people know me, they're like, "You had a fear of public speaking?"
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, mortified. Now, I'm predicting Jay always loved to speak. He seems very good at it.
Not true, but it's my experience in the military and in becoming a leader. I mean, it's you don't lead from behind. You got to lead from the front. But it's a lot of young people will ask me that, and it was when I first decided to run, and of course it was John Tidwell was the state rep out of Humphreys County, and very conservative Democrat. He's a good guy. He's still a good man today.
Yes.
But I went to the state party headquarters in Nashville, and I said, I'm thinking about running. And then they were like, well, he votes with us most of the time for the Republican Party, and we can count on his votes and all of that. He says, it depends on who we find as a candidate. I was like, okay, that's fair enough. And so it was one question is, well, is there anybody else running under the Republican ticket? I had no idea. But the last question they asked that stuck home was, do you have any skeletons in the closet? Because when you run for office, they are going to come at you from all directions to discredit who you are. It's a lot of times it's chasing after the family, and that's the aspect of politics that I hate. But when you get involved in this stuff, the enemy, whoever that is, your opponents, are going to try to figure out how to make you look like the worst person in the world.
Sure.
And so when I talk to young people that are interested in politics, it's like, think about what you do every day. Don't get in trouble with the law. I mean, if you're serious about making changes in your local community or these United States, be the respectable person that you expect to carry the football for you and lead this country.
So get comfortable with public speaking.
Yes, sir.
And try to keep your nose clean.
That's right.
Okay, that's good advice for the youngins watching this. And if you haven't already done so, please share this on Facebook or YouTube. Hit the share button. Let's get some more people watching. Now, one of the things that state representatives do is they carry something called private acts from their local counties to the Tennessee General Assembly. Now, a private act basically can range from just a very small detail of how a county does something all the way up to, like in Benton County, the entire county runs on the 1939 private act. And that literally describes that we have a budget committee versus another way of doing it. It describes how county government runs. And so both of you guys have recently had to carry a private act. And so walk us through that process.
So to start with is when I was first elected, there were some private acts that hit the House floor. And I started asking questions. I said, this has nothing to do with Houston County, House District 74. Why do I need to be involved in this? Says, because sooner or later you're going to have a private act. Now, private acts pertain to your cities and the county. Mm-hmm. Now, it was a couple of years ago, and then Tandy, he carried a private act. I was a co-sponsor of that for Henry County, and we'll let him talk about what that private act had done. But this is interesting. New Johnsonville, they have a problem with nepotism. It's family members being on the city council. And then they said, we want to stop that so we can be more responsive to the citizens of New Johnsonville. Mm-hmm. And so this was 2 or 3 years ago. And so I bring it before the House committees and to the House floor, and there was conversations, if you remember that.
Yes, sir.
And so with that, we are required by the chairman of that, Private Acts Committee, and they said, do you have a resolution from your city council or your county commissioners? And they are looking for the signature block saying they want this. It's not something that Jay Reedy wants. It's something that they want. So we turn that into the chairman. We talk to the committee. This is what they want. And what was interesting is the committee says, nepotism. Are they big enough that they can keep from family members running? And I said, it's what they want. And they said, okay, we'll pass it through. Now, after action report, I don't know if they did anything with it because we pass it, then it goes back to the city and the county. Yep. They have to vote 2/3 that they want to enact this upon their citizens. That's right, to adopt that. And then at the same time that they, this year while in session, Tandy had a private act and I had a private act, but they came in late. And so they opened the committee back up, and I think we were in the last week of session. And the one was for Benton County, and it's like, okay, they wanted to update their act from 1939. Now, you keep in mind some of these acts, there's dollar signs tied to it, so you could only spend this much, or you got to go out and get bids, and it was $50 here, $100. I was like, hey, this is a new age, man. Yep. We need to increase that to $1,000, $10,000, whatever it is. So we sent that back to Benton County. Now, the biggest one that I had trouble with this year, it was Humphreys County. They wanted to create a water wastewater board for the county. In other words, you've got Waverly that's got the wastewater, City Water, New Johnsonville. I think there's 4 entities that are taking care of water, wastewater. And it was written up, and a lot of citizens weren't paying attention to that, but I did get the resolution from the county commission. We ran it through the system. We sent it back. Now, it's interesting when, it's just like Election Day, people wake up and it's like, oh, who do I vote for, or what's the issue? Now, keep in mind, on the ballot, we've got 3 constitutional amendments, and we could sure cover those. Not now.
We're going to talk about one of them, coming up.
So with that, constituents out of Humphreys County started calling me, how could you do this to Humphreys County? I said, it's not a Jay Reedy thing. You're county commissioner. I'll show you the resolution. It's what they wanted. They've been talking about it for a few years. And I said, now it goes back for you, the people, to decide. I can't vote in Humphreys County. You guys decide what you want to do. And at this time, I'll turn to Tandy and let him talk about what Henry County wanted.
So a private act, even though the one you dealt with just concerned Henry County.
Yes, sir.
Ultimately, it has to be voted on by the full legislative body in Nashville.
And the Senate.
It has to pass both the House and Senate in Nashville to become an actual private act for one particular county. And I think a bunch of people don't know that. I didn't know that until I was a county commissioner. And so what did you do for Henry County?
Yeah, and like to piggyback off what Jay said, it is a great checks and balance for the state, for the counties, because, hey, I'm not throwing Jay under the bus. Say I've got a good idea for Weakley County.
Right.
And I could go into the committee, John Crawford's committee, he's the chairman, and say, hey, I want my people back home, they want to see this. First thing he's going to ask you, just like Jay said, where's the resolution with the names on it? And it ain't, hey, you had 13 ayes and 1 no. It's you got to have names, the date, sticklers. So that's a great checks and balance for the state and for the county, that it ain't a Jay or a Tandy idea. This comes from your commissioners or your city councilman.
Yep.
Because the last one I did was for the city of Gleason, that they opened up the committee for me and Jay to get it in. But for Henry County, me and Mayor Geiger, we had multiple conversations about it. It was a soil severance, and clay that was put there by the finger of God, just like gravel and sand and everything else that is taxed in the state that the county gets commission off of.
Right.
Well, we got clay added to that too, and worked like clockwork. Mm-hmm. Everything worked like it was supposed to, and I can't say enough about working with Mayor Geiger.
Yeah,
man, what a
gentleman.
Great guy,
right?
Yes, sir.
Great guy. Now, we're going to talk about one of the constitutional amendments that's going to be on the upcoming ballot. But first, I want to tell everybody watching that all of the Benton County mayor candidates are going to be here on the Mike Weatherford Show on Tuesday, the 23rd. I think they have 3 candidates. There are 4 candidates. So Scott Pfeiffer, Shasta Arnold, Mark Ward, the current mayor, and Norman Frazier. They're going to all be here, I think, in studio on the 23rd, which is a Tuesday. So if you live in Benton County or you're concerned about their politics, you probably ought to tune in to that one. Now, let's talk about this constitutional amendment. Some of the people watching may have heard about this. So anytime you amend the Tennessee Constitution, that's a big deal. And it can't happen in one session of the TGA. It takes 2 years at a minimum, really. If everything goes just right.
For the 4 years, it's 2 sessions. A session lasts 2 years. So,
correct, yeah.
So you pass it one session, you go back and pass it again the second session before you finally get to get it put on the
one I want to ask you guys about is the Yes on 2, which is the state property tax ban. Now, I've heard a lot of people for this, a lot of people saying, why are we doing this? Because currently there is no state property tax collected in Tennessee. But what a lot of people don't know is that it's on the books, that just with one vote in the House and the Senate, there could be a state property tax right now. Like literally next session, if this doesn't pass, y'all could go in there and say, yeah, there's a 5% property tax at the state level, in addition to the county and city tax, right? And so the Yes on 2 is the state property tax ban. And many farmers, families, communities across your counties are strongly supporting this. I know there's some bigger I'm trying not to step on toes here. There's some bigger kind of organizations who are really pushing this. And so what this would do is amend the state constitution so that in the future, there could never be a state level property tax unless a future TGA went back and amended the Constitution again.
That is correct.
Are you guys? Are you a yes or a no on two, and why?
Doc, I'm the one that ran it.
Oh, you ran it.
I ran it. This is my bill.
Nice,
this is my constitutional
See, I didn't
amendment.
do enough homework. I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
And me and Frank, Senator, the late Senator Frank Nicely, we started it. Yes, and what a gentleman. And Frankisms is that's one of the things there that's talked about still in the House. But yes, they came to me, and I'm humbled that this is big.
Yeah.
This is going to be on the ballot.
Yes.
And so I am the West Tennessee representative. So those folks would shoot me if I'm glad you brought it up, because they would shoot me if I didn't bring it up.
Right.
So vote yes on two, for me. And I still feel like I'm wet behind the ears on some issues. I still feel like I'm new. And for them to come to me and say, Tandy, we want you to run this with Frank Nicely, I was humbled. Now, and we ran the bill, and just like what Jay talked about there, it seemed like we ran it forever. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, seemed like I was on the floor presenting it. And, it's one of those things. I had a lot of Democrats that fought me on it because they said, well, this is just a farm protection bill. And I had to bring up, Doc, do y'all not have new home buyers in cities? Do y'all not have retirees?
Of course.
And this is a no-brainer, because it, just like you said, it's in the Constitution. You get a swing of the pendulum and somebody says, hey, we're going to, the Tennessee state constituents here in the state, we could have a slush fund right here that we can find a spot in their pocketbook here. We can garner more money.
Yes.
This takes this out of the equation. So,
and a lot of people watching may not know there used to be a state property tax in Tennessee many, many years ago. 1939, that's right.
Implemented the income tax there, and that was kind of put to the wayside, but it's still written in there.
But the language is lying there dormant. Yeah, and right now I think that both the House and the Senate in Nashville is very fiscally conservative, but should the winds change and we have different leadership, if they said, hey, we need to raise some money here for Nashville for some big projects, they could do it without this constitutional amendment, Jay.
And of course, I'm the yes on two chairman for my district, so it's I'm part of it as well.
Excellent.
And a way to look at that was, what happened with the state income tax, getting that done? So we was before my time, but stopping a state income tax. A good example is something that we experienced this year from the White House, telling Tennessee and our leadership, guys, whatever it is with immigration, whatever it is, you as a state of Tennessee need to be codifying your codes, your Constitution, because after Donald Trump, who are we going to get as a president next that can come in with executive orders and undo everything? And of course, that was, Tandy, I don't know if you were there, but I had, it was stopping sanctuary cities.
Yes, sir.
And in stopping sanctuary cities, it's like Governor Haslam didn't sign it.
Right.
He said it was a solution looking for a problem, and it's like no.
He didn't veto it. He just let it sit and let it pass.
Yeah, when his staff come over and said, well, he doesn't like it, but he's not going to veto it. And I said, I challenge him. If he does, he's going to be in big trouble.
Right.
But anyway, that was another example. And when I'm standing in the well presenting it, the Democrats are saying, this is a federal issue. Why are we doing it? I said, because we need to protect the sovereignty of Tennessee, and it's the same thing with yes on two. We need to protect our sovereignty compared. I don't care personally. I'm from Idaho. They're doing a great job with the conservatives they have there. But I'm a Tennessean now. I raised my family here. I'm going to die here. But we need to protect the sovereignty of Tennessee for our future, for your kids, my kids, and our future kids. And that's one of the steps that we need to take, Tandy. I'm glad that you did it, but it just gives an example of the challenges ahead for the state of Tennessee and so many more things with illegal immigration and all of that. There's a lot we can do.
And Doc, I misspoke there. I said income tax. That was sales tax was implemented in 1939. That's when property tax went
away. That's exactly right.
Yes,
yes. And now you brought up a very interesting civics tidbit that I bet many people don't know. In many states and in the federal government, if a president or a governor vetoes a bill, it goes back to the houses, and it takes a 2/3 vote to overrule that veto. But in Tennessee, my friends, it only takes a simple majority. So if the governor does veto something, if it's already passed in the House and the Senate, it's just going to go back and they're going to pass it again, and then it becomes law. So really the governor's veto in Tennessee is not nearly as powerful as the governor's veto in other states.
However, it becomes a challenge because when session's over and he vetoes it, well, we got to call a special session to go back to overhaul that outfit.
The politics come in now. The politics,
the challenges of the day.
Now, this next question, I travel all over West Tennessee speaking about health, nutrition, and stuff, and I'm always talking to farmers. Because I'm a amateur farmer rancher. I want to grow up and be a farmer, right? And so I'm always asking them questions. And one thing I keep hearing, and first time I heard it, I thought it was odd, but I keep hearing it over and over. So many hardworking row crop farmers in your counties and your counties who are facing very high input costs for seed, equipment, fertilizer, fuel, and a bunch of them are carrying just an ungodly debt load because of all the inputs. And at the same time, the price of beef and mutton keeps going up and up and up and up. And these row crop farmers would love to convert some of their acreage into pasture and start to kind of take advantage of the price of beef and mutton. But the debt burden is so much that it just feels impossible walking in their shoes. Does that make sense? And so my question is there anything that the state government could do in a situation like that? Not obviously not as a handout or welfare or anything like that, but is there any kind of tax incentives or any kind of anything that the Tennessee government could do to help a farmer with perhaps thousands of acres under lease, or they own it, but they're so deep in debt they can't convert 100 or 200 acres to pasture?
Well, we do have grants through the Department of Ag, many times starting a business, growing a business, but keep in mind, the days of old, it seemed like every farmer, I don't care if it was the cotton or soybeans or corn, well, they had a pasture set aside and it was cattle. Mm-hmm. And then what happened is they decided, well, we're going to get out of that and do just this. Or maybe it was even, let's talk about dairy for a minute. Dairy used to be huge in Tennessee, and there's only a handful of dairies left.
Absolutely.
And they found out there was having trouble with the market, or they got scammed out of their milk check and all of that. I've got cattle, I've got sheep, and finally, finally we're making money off of what we're raising on the grass in Houston County. But then the different health threats scare me, such as the screwworm. What is it going to do? But yes, there are many grants, and I had spoken with Governor Lee about it, and he took a lot of the economic community development dollars that he was giving to the big urban areas and started shifting those over to Department of Ag for many things. I mean, expanding a sawmill, expanding a slaughterhouse, expanding feedlots, expanding but go on the Department of Ag website, and I'm drawing flies, I guess, but go on the Department of Ag website, and there's a lot of links that you can click on, or certainly call it. Either one of our offices will help you navigate that to find out where the grants are at. But, well, and not only that, USDA.
Yeah.
At the federal level, there's a lot of grant dollars there too. But certainly, if somebody is challenged with that, and I get it. I get
absolutely.
It's a lot of, and I keep watching the ag market report every morning, and then I see what they're getting for corn, and it's like, guys, stop growing corn. Right. I mean, that's, and I guess they're looking at the ethanol plants or whatever they're looking at. They're not ethanol plants. I got that right? Yeah. Because I'm not a row crop farmer. All my is livestock and growing grass, and hopefully I'm growing good animals.
Right.
But with that, it's what happened to the cotton market. And we make some beautiful cotton in the state of Tennessee.
In West Tennessee, for sure.
And a big part of it is contracting out, finding where this needs to go. And, of course, I met my wife. There was a tobacco base on the farm. But we seen what happened to tobacco. And of course, there was, I guess there was the tobacco buyout, but then there was what happened to the money there, but it wasn't only us, it was Kentucky. It's very similar to the way we operate through our departments of agriculture, but there's options out there, but I totally get it. And I'm going to kind of shift gears with that. Being a farmer, it breaks my heart to find out how many farmers are committing suicide.
Absolutely.
Being a military veteran and our military folks, suicide. Our young people out of our communities, brilliant kids right out of high school, suicide. What is going on? And it's not just the state of Tennessee. Somehow we need to figure out what's going on. And Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse, we're having this conversation because that's not a way to leave this world is through suicide.
Totally agree.
But as you said, it was the financial stresses of farming. And my experience, I was an ag student at Austin Peay, worked part-time at Montgomery County Co-op. The elderly people coming in and on credit buying pallets of fertilizer, the tobacco stuff, and I didn't know anything about tobacco. And then I finally talked to the manager, and I said, they're buying everything on credit. How can they do this? He said, just hang on. They'll bring in that tobacco check, paid everything off, and then they do it all over again. It's like, oh my gosh, for the love of farming.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Now let's shift gears. Let's talk about education. Okay, we already talked about civics a little bit, but now let's talk about those school vouchers. Okay. Now in both of you gentlemen's districts, 97% of the school age kids are either public school kids or homeschool kids. There's very few private school students in the counties, right, that you represent. What are your thoughts on the private school vouchers that have already passed? How did you vote on it? Do you think it needs to be expanded or curtailed? What are your thoughts on school vouchers? Tandy, Darby.
All right. That's what I ran on. Doc, I ran on that I'm a no on school vouchers. I think that our public educations, I'll put them up against anybody in the state. And especially when you start putting the ratio of money, what comes into Weakley County, Henry County, Carroll County, compared to your Williamson, your bigger counties there, I'll put our public education system up against anybody. Now, do we have issues? You mighty right we do. There is no perfect solution.
Of course.
But our problems are not Memphis problems. They're not Davidson County problems. But this cookie cutter approach that, well, we're going to do this and this is what's going to affect everybody, we've got different issues. And you can't have one approach that's going to fix all. I don't even have a private school in my 3-county area.
You mean Greenfield doesn't have a private school or two?
No, sir. They're not knocking down the doors. They're not knocking down there. And we've got a great church school in Martin.
Yes.
But I don't think that they're sanctioned to receive vouchers.
Correct.
So I can't grasp my head around.
So you were a no on school vouchers.
Yes, sir.
And do you think the majority of your constituents were they a no on vouchers?
Yes, sir.
Jay, what about you?
I was a yes. I've always been for school choice. And matter of fact, when the issue came up, I did a survey. And in that survey, 62% of the surveys I sent out in my district were wanting, and that's how I was gathering my information. They wanted it. Of course, McEwen, it's the St. Patrick's School. They do take the what you call the voucher dollars or education fund dollars. And so I just met with the director of schools there, and that was one of the questions. He said it's a bad idea. So how many students did you lose to it? 2. And he said, well, it's everybody that was already there getting them is getting them again. Now, as far as that, what have we got? 35. How many vouchers?
35,000.
35,000 going out. I think we need to hold the line. and see what's coming out of that. And
so you think that's enough? We need some data back to see if it's actually making an improvement.
That's right. And part of that this year was the testing. So the testing of those kids to find out, are they doing as good or better than public education? But I'm gonna throw a bomb in this conversation, because Dr. Lanham, the director of schools in Humphreys County, and he was talking about virtual schools and saying, hey, we're thinking about opening a virtual school because we're losing a lot of our kids to virtual schools. So you being a parent, your kid comes home mad, and then you're like, okay, well, we can homeschool or private school or virtual school. Sports fans, virtual schools are a failure in the state of Tennessee. Now, what happened when it was first set up with state dollars for a virtual school, there was only 25. But since COVID and all of that, there's 65, and we're finding out those virtual schools are getting an F. So in that meeting, I had Mark White, he's the chairman of the Education Committee. Chairman of Instruction is Scott Sapicki. They were in the room. And the reason I invited these guys there, because I had read in the News Democrat that the school was thinking about creating a virtual school. And so with Scott Sapicki, and he's very knowledgeable with education, and he just came and told Dr. Lanham, says, we're going to defund virtual schools. Why? Because they are a failure, and they're taking Tennessee tax dollars in that. So folks, if you're out there listening, pay attention what we're going to do this. He said there's legislation next year, and what the two chairmen told Dr. Lanham says, if you want a virtual school, you can do it in Humphreys County to teach your school. And they said, well, why? Well, because the truant officers, the families, if they're not in school and they're not attending, you can make a phone call and have them picked up.
Gotcha.
And that will get the kids back to learning. Now, a big thing that has happened was third grade retention, fourth grade retention. So that's been in play for, 3 years, and we're going to see a shift. Did we make the right decision in education for the state of Tennessee? Because those kids are now 3 to 4 years older. How well are they performing compared to the previous classes, to see if we're on the right track?
Yep. I think the testing is a great idea, but I've heard that there's been some friction at the top not wanting to test these kids. But just to be clear, you think that the majority of your constituents supported the school vouchers?
They did, yes.
Okay. Now, next question, also on education. Nisha and I, we homeschool both of our kids in Benton County, and so do many people in your districts.
Oh, sure.
Actually, there's 5 times as many homeschool kids in y'all's districts as there are private school kids.
And you know how that happened, right?
And so the question is, how committed are you to protecting the rights? Because the homeschool parents very often don't want any help from the state, because they also don't want you to have any say-so into what they're doing. Right. How committed are you to protecting the rights of homeschool parents to educate their children in the way they see fit, and to kind of have a hands-off approach to homeschooling as far as the state government is concerned? Tandy?
No, I think it's God put you here for a reason. And if you see fit that this is the way that I want to teach my kids, some of my best friends homeschool their kids.
Right.
And they're great people. Their kids are great kids.
Yep.
And now, I'm sure y'all do a great job with your kids. There's got to be something there where a mom or dad just don't want to get up to take their kid to school.
Right.
And I know that you've probably seen it. Yeah, I mean, so there has to be a guardrail. I'm sure that they're not knocking on your door at 9 o'clock. Dr. Barry, are you up?
We have not got a knock
no,
at the door.
Sir.
No, we
sir.
have not. Correct.
But there does need to be something there. I don't want any state intrusion the way that you see fit to teach your kids. There's some people that the kids don't want to go to school. The parents are not making them go to school. There has to be some type of circle there that everybody understands that these kids are getting educated.
Right.
And that's the $1 million question. But I am all for if you see fit that you can teach your kids and teach them the values that you want them to have, by all means, don't stop.
Jay, what would you add to that?
When we started talking about the education savings accounts, and then later with the addition of the Education Freedom Act, what happened was the homeschoolers, they were kind of written into the bill, and then after a lot of roundtable discussions were written, they were taken out, so they weren't part of that. But since COVID and it was remote learning, it was so many of our school districts, that's how they lost kids, is because they were, mom and dad standing over their shoulder looking what they're seeing on the screen and said, oh no, my kid is not learning this, and they took them home. To Tandy's point, yeah, I've got a brother and sister-in-law that ruined their kids from homeschooling. So there's people that should not be homeschooling kids, but that was another discussion that was brought up in Humphreys County at the district office, I guess, the Board of Education. Anyway, it's like, okay, is there a criteria for the parents? In other words, if they're high school dropouts, they should not be homeschooling their kids. So we'll have that conversation in Education Committee this year. It's like, okay, is currently the law regulating homeschooling, is it good enough, or is there something that we need to tweak? And I don't have that answer yet.
So that's on the agenda for this coming session. Excellent. Okay, next question. This is a hot topic right now. Data centers and farmland protection. I just recently wrote a Substack about this. We got a bunch of hits. People are very interested in this. So many residents and farmers in both of y'all's counties are watching the rapid growth of data centers, large solar projects, Bitcoin mining operations. But the problem is that many of the rural counties do not have county zoning, right? Because they don't want to be told what to do out in the county. If they want a pig farm or a chicken farm, they're going to have it, and they don't want the government telling them what to do. And that's good, and I agree wholeheartedly with that. But then all of a sudden, you've got a guy who's just bought quietly with NDAs 1,000 acres of prime pasture. And he's already been talking to the electric cooperative, and he's already been talking to the development board, the industrial board. And before the citizens are even aware of it, there's a 1,000-acre data center out there on McGillicuddy's farm that used to be a dairy farm, so potentially, right? And so I don't think most people want county zoning. I don't. But there is a limited way, and I don't know if you guys are both familiar with the Jackson Law. It deals with dumps, right? And so the state legislature acted on this, and so counties can adopt the Jackson Law without having county zoning. So that's right. Right? And so my proposal is to have something like a Jackson Law. We could call it the Darby Law or the Reedy Law, that a county could adopt with a 2/3 vote in the county commission, and then that way they would have transparency. The industrial board couldn't be slipping around getting a big fat data center in here without anybody knowing about it. What do you guys think about that idea? Pro, con, or another idea?
I'll lead into this. Go ahead, Tandy.
Great question. I bet I've had 5 or 6 emails north part of the county in the last 3 weeks. So I called 2 people there that I've really valued their opinion right here in Paris. No such thing as a data center going north part of Henry County.
So that's a rumor.
That's a rumor. That's coffee talk.
Okay.
I got that from, matter of fact, what is today? Today's Wednesday. Friday was when I made the phone call.
Y'all heard it here.
For 2 people.
Just a rumor.
Yeah. Coffee talk. Started doing some digging, and I'm going to sound like the biggest hypocrite that's ever sat at this table.
I doubt that.
I don't know. I'm going to come close.
Here we go.
The brownfields.
Yes.
In the brownfields in urban areas.
Yep. And like the old Milan Armory.
Yes.
That's right.
Those places there, it's going to, like I said, let me reiterate, I'm going to sound like a hypocrite. But brownfield areas where you've had industrial at one time, manufacturing, or dilapidated homes.
Yep.
What a tax base those data centers could be in those areas. We know what this land is good for.
Right.
And so like I said, do I think it's for rural areas? Of course not. Of course not. Data centers in brownfields, urban areas that they're not being used. Somewhere down the line, they've had water, electricity. Mm-hmm. Now, I do like Microsoft's approach. I like the people that make Microsoft have the approach that they've got to have, where Microsoft is bringing in data centers. So the county, the city, hey, we like your idea too, but you got to check these boxes. You do the infrastructure.
Yep.
You're for any electricity increases, you're going to pay those.
Yep.
Make them check all the boxes here,
mm-hmm.
and hey, not by a Tandy Darby that draws it up, by a team of lawyers that there's no wiggling out of. You got to protect yourself. You got to protect your people, and what a tax base those urban areas could be, what the tax value that it's going to bring in, but they've got to make these companies check these boxes that we're going to take care of all this. Any hiccups, it's on us. So there is a place for them, because I'll guarantee you China's not having this discussion right now. They're all they're doing is boom, 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 mm-hmm. knocking them out of the park, and they leapfrog us where we want to be. Yep. And so is there a place for them? Most definitely. Not the rural area.
Jay?
And that kind of reminds me of legislation we covered years ago, and it was the wind generators. And so we brought legislation, or it was Cameron Sexton, before he was Speaker of the House, had brought it to the Ag Committee. And we had to mull over it for a couple of weeks, because part of it was if you were leasing your property to wind generators, and then they come out and install those, and then they had a problem, they couldn't just up and leave you, that they had to take them with them when they left. So in other words, they were liable to clean up after themselves when their usable life was up.
Right.
Well, it's the same thing is taking place. Now, there's been 2 counties already that put a moratorium on data centers in Middle Tennessee. And so it's a hot topic, and then we're finding out from the folks we get electricity from, say, expect your electric bill from, July to September to be the highest it has ever been, because of the drain of data centers and high usage manufacturing and all of that. So it's going to be an interesting conversation when we get back to Nashville. It's how do we, like you were saying with the Jackson Law, very familiar. We're on the Ag Committee, very familiar with the Jackson Law, landfills, and of course, sooner or later we're going to need some new landfills. But I mean, I don't want your garbage, you don't want mine, but we've got to find a place to put it.
Correct.
So that's right. With what they did with the Jackson Law is a good idea, and maybe you have something there we need to do something very similar for the data centers. But once again, that's right, Tandy, and putting them where high population. I mean, why would you take out in the middle of nowhere, put a data center, and then have to run all of this power out, or build that extra infrastructure when there's already possibly infrastructure already there? And what was they were going to build solar panels in Montgomery County. They pulled out, and then Google put a data center in there years ago, and it was already the pipes and everything were there for the cooling and all of that. So there's a data center already operating by Google in Montgomery County. But once again, that infrastructure was already there and pretty much abandoned, and Tennessee was basically on the hook because China flooded the market with cheap solar panels, and that shut the door on, I want to say Med-Alpha, but that's not it. But anyway, it's a huge conversation, but that's right. That's a big part of what we struggle with is getting the facts and finding out, not necessarily lying, but they're out yanking somebody's chain, and then all of a sudden, because of social media, everybody believes it's fact.
Everybody puts their own little spin on the ball, don't they?
When you see it in black and white, well, this has got to be true.
Right.
Boy, this has got to be true.
That's right. Or if you see it on Facebook, it's
that's where I meant. Was on Facebook.
I hope that you two did not think you were going to get out of here without a Second Amendment question.
Fire away.
So both the Gun Owners of America and Tennessee Firearms Association, and maybe even the NRA, have been fighting for years to make Tennessee a true constitutional carry state. Yet, to this very day, The Tennessee Code Annotated still says that it is a crime to carry a gun with the intent to go armed.
Article 1, Section 26.
Correct. Do you believe Tennessee's current gun laws are good enough?
No.
As they are, or do you believe this intent to go armed language is constitutional as written, or do you believe Governor Lee should he have appealed the ruling? Because there's a 3-judge panel in Gibson County that said intent to go armed is unconstitutional, and Skermetti and the governor could have let it set, and that would have been the end of it. But they appealed the ruling. What's your position? Are we a Second Amendment state right now? Should we be? Are you okay with this language?
I'm okay with the language. I think it shouldn't have been challenged by the governor. And
that's correct.
If that's, I'm probably not answering your question.
That's a good answer.
Okay, yeah,
that's a good answer.
I wish that it wouldn't have been. I've had firearms in the corner of the house ever since I was a kid.
Have you ever been armed when you walked out to the mailbox, checked the mail?
I don't think I've ever been armed checking the mail.
Okay, all right, because you broke the law.
There you go.
You intended to be armed.
Me and Rusty Grills has had it. He says, Tandy, if your truck breaks down and you don't want to leave your gun in your truck, and you're walking down the road, I hadn't never thought
you're a felon.
It's West Tennessee.
Right.
You don't think about it.
Correct.
And,
but
if there's
that one deputy that doesn't like Tandy Darby,
yes, sir,
you're going to jail.
Yes,
now,
sir.
Jay, I know that you are a friend of the Second Amendment, and what do you think about this? I know your answer, but I want you to say it out loud, and then I want both of y'all to answer the question. Will either one of you commit to carry a bill this next session that strikes the language intent to go armed out of the Tennessee Code?
The last 4 years, I have been trying to get a constitutional amendment to strike out Article 1, Section 26. And what that said, and I pushed it through, and the Democrats think I'm crazy, but I don't care. But all it would say is, we the citizens have the right to keep and bear arms. Period.
So you want to mimic the Bill of Rights and use almost the same language?
Almost to the point, but they've got the common defense, and it's like
leave that out.
No common defense. We have the right to keep and bear arms.
Yes.
Period.
Got it.
And of course, it's every time I get it, we go through the subcommittees, and then we take it to finance, and there was the Covenant shooting. Anything to do with firearms, we're going to take those off notice. It's like, no. So I go back the next year, and then it gets taken off notice again. And with that, with Richard Archie, TFA, NRA, a life member of both organizations, NRA since 1986. I didn't just become an NRA member to run for office, right. But it just gives me indigestion with all of I read out the whole history of the state of Tennessee, where we get our Constitution, and where it was the free men of this state have the right to keep and bear arms. Well, no, we were going through the slavery issue, all of that.
Correct.
Then they come back, the delegation said, okay, only a white man can go armed. It's like, no, that's unconstitutional. So then they met in Knoxville. What was it, 1834?
Was that one. And then they met again.
Was it 1860? I don't have it down totally in my memory. But they met, and there was a delegate, and then they put into what they have. It's in the Article 1, Section 1, Article 26, as it reads now in our Constitution. And the court system almost declared that unconstitutional because
the Supreme Court said it was one of the most onerous of all the state constitutions.
But they let it stand, and that's my problem. And everybody kept saying, well, we need to change this law, that law. I said, what if we change the Constitution? If we change the Constitution, null and void everything that's in there, and then we would have the right to do so. I was co-chair with the Sportsman's Caucus with Mike Bell. And we go with the Sportsman's Caucus, and we go to Vermont. Who runs Vermont? Population 750,000, saw the Bernie Sanders signs, everybody's a Democrat, no carry permit required, guys walking down the road with a shotgun, with a rifle, they're like, Hey, this is a common everyday occurrence. And I said, Mike, what's the problem with Tennessee? We the Republicans are in charge. We're freedom-loving, Second Amendment. We love our Bible. We love our guns. What's wrong with us? And it's like, and that's when I got steeped into the politics of what our Constitution says, and even back shortly after our Constitution was you could go armed, but guess what you could go armed with? Well, it was a revolver, but you had to carry it in your hand the whole time. You couldn't stick it in your belt. You couldn't put it in a holster. And then if you were in the city limits, let's say Nashville, and the gun goes off, well, it's a $50 fine for you, but it was like 50 lashes to a black person under the slavery. It's like,
there's so many people.
No fair and equitable understanding.
Especially
of this
most of the
all.
people who are against the Second Amendment stance, they have no idea where the language came from in our state constitution and why it's there like it is right now. It has nothing to do with what they think it has to do with.
But I presented the whole story several times. So if they want to look up J. Reedy and constitutional amendment, you just a web browser, you can listen to my pitch from where our Constitution come from, why we were in that position, because keep in mind what happened after the Civil War. There was unrest. And when we say you can't go armed, what was that you can't go armed with? A Bowie knife, an Arkansas toothpick, a baseball bat. Club. It wasn't just a handgun.
That's correct.
It was going armed, period, to
and
defend yourself.
And it still says a club in the
that's
TCA.
Exactly right.
Absolutely, yep. So you guys are both, you're ashamed that every single state connecting Tennessee all the way around is a full Second Amendment constitutional carry state.
True.
But Tennessee is not.
That's right.
So let's work on that, gentlemen.
We got a challenge.
Let's work on it. Okay, now let me tell you guys once again that this show was sponsored by the Henry County Farm Bureau. My friend Josh Simmons over there will take care of you if you have any insurance needs, and we're about to have some fun with these two guys. I'm going to ask some rapid fire questions. I think it'll be fun, but go see Josh Simmons if you have any insurance needs. Okay, guys, you ready? These are actually the questions everybody's been sticking around for.
Cool.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question, and you're just going to give me a one-word answer. Okay?
I don't know if I can just say one word.
Jay, you're going to have to
really
good
luck, Jay.
work hard. Okay.
Right.
Beef, chicken, or vegan?
Beef.
Beef. I love it. My kind of men. Okay. Lake fishing or river fishing?
River.
Saltwater
fishing. Okay. Hunting or fishing?
Hunting.
I love it. Okay. Sweet tea or unsweet tea?
Well, I'm old now, half and half.
Half and half?
Sweet tea.
Sweet. Come on, Tandy. Come on.
Weakness.
Are you a dog guy or a cat guy?
Dog.
Dog guys. Okay. Would you rather have a garden or raise livestock?
Livestock.
That's my gentleman right there. Oh, we got a comment from Representative Brock Martin on Facebook. He says
we know that guy.
He serves with both of you guys, and he said he can guarantee that you will not find two more well-respected and God-fearing men in Nashville. Blessed to have them serving West Tennessee.
Thank you, Brock.
Back to the important stuff. We can get off Brock Martin. Let's talk about it now. Barbecue or brisket?
Brisket.
Barbecue.
Really? I'd have picked you for a brisket guy. Okay. Paris Landing or Maine Kentucky Lake?
Oh,
Maine, you want to get out in the boat?
Yep.
Kentucky Lake.
Get out in the boat. Yes. Okay. Got it. Are you a Friday night football guy or a Saturday football guy? Or neither?
Really neither. I'm whatever my wife wants to watch as far as the NFL.
That's a good husband.
Both. They had a better time of the year.
I love it. Sunrise or sunset? Are you an early bird or no?
Oh, sunset.
Early bird.
Yeah, I used to be a night owl. Now I'm with Tandy on this one. Guys, thank you so much.
We're just getting old.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm just getting old. Maybe that's right. Maybe I'm right. It's not too late to share this. If we talked about some stuff that you know your neighbors would be like, hey, I didn't know that. I have never heard that before. You can still share this on Facebook or on YouTube. If this goes over well, leave a comment if you enjoyed this. Mike Weatherford's thinking about hiring me to be a part-time guy over here. So if you're like, yeah, I'd like to see more of that guy, then leave it in the comments, or the opposite. You can leave that in the comments as well.
Ken, let Tandy and I share something right at the end as we're wrapping up. And what I want to do is share my phone number, my office. It's 615-741-7098. Jennifer Beckwith is in the office. They are there year-round, so they're taking our phone calls. So when we stop in, or if they've got a problem that they cannot resolve, they will call us. 615-741-7098. Tandy, I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, hey, I've got the biggest rock star in Nashville, Brittany Jones. She knows more constituents than I probably do. And anytime that you've got a problem, please reach out to our office, and we would jump at the opportunity there. I wish I had the magic wand. Everybody, it's just like what Mike said when I commented about how many vehicles he had out here that he was working. He said, Tandy, I can't find help. State of Tennessee is the same way. I wish I had the magic wand that, hey, you make a phone call into the agency that you're looking at and want to get something done, everybody's short of help. That's right. So, hey, if it's something there that you can't get an answer on, please reach out to us. Brittany Jones will take care of you. Thank you.
I love it. You guys watching this, do not forget that on Tuesday, the 23rd, the world famous Mike Weatherford will be interviewing the Benton County mayor candidates. He's going to have them on. There they are right there on the screen. And so if you're in Benton County or you're interested in their politics, that's going to be Tuesday, the 23rd. Jay Reedy, Tandy,
yes, sir.
Darby, thank you gentlemen so much. It's been very informative, and we appreciate what you guys do. Thank you guys for watching and for sharing. We'll see you next time.
And that's a wrap.